Okay, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to today's event. This is another edition of Bata Banta. Okay, I see that we have two people on the live stream almost immediately. That's a very good sign. That's a good indication that things are going to be very good for today. Oh, I have a tab playing the video in the background. I just turned that off. Sorry about that. So I said that I see that we have two people on the live stream today. A very good sign. You're welcome. Wherever you're watching from, it would be nice to have you type in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from. This is Bata Banta. The channel is Bespoke, and it's a shoemaking and leathercraft channel. And we usually do these live streams basically to have discussions around things that concern shoemaking. And today I have a very special guest. His name is Chris Krambrick, all the way from Germany. Chris, good evening.
Good evening, Victor. Hi.
Good evening. What time is it in Germany now? Nice to meet you.
Yeah. It's 22, I don't know, what's it called? 10 p.m. 10 p.m.
10 p.m. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, that's just 1 hour later than our own time. So it's 9 p.m. around here. So, ladies and gentlemen, Chris is a student of culture. So he is a student of culture and he's into leathercraft as well. Two of the things that are really very appealing to me. I didn't study culture at a very high level, but I am a man of culture. I actually like culture. I like to observe how people behave and, ask myself some questions about why things are the way that they are. And Chris ticks all of those boxes. So for today, we are basically going to talk about the footwear culture in Germany and then in Nigeria. And then we will drill down to some of the things that I think are very, very of serious concern to some shoemakers in Nigeria, which is this vexed issue of gums, glues, and sole bonding. Chris, what do you think about Nigeria and Nigerians? Or let me just let you introduce yourself first of all, and then we'll run that trivia about both our countries. Chris, go ahead, please.
So, I'm Chris. I come from Germany and I'm 31 years old. I studied cultural science at university, and one of my hobbies is leather crafting. And in the last 1 year or 2 years, I got into shoemaking. Or first I started repairing shoes. Then I wanted to make my own shoes, but I'm really a beginner at making my own shoes. So it's a very interesting topic for me to be able to talk with someone who's making his own shoes for a longer time and maybe pick up 1 or 2 things for him. And so about our countries here in Germany, to be quite honest, we don't know so much about Nigeria, or because in Germany there's this prejudice like Africa is a country. When people say Africa, they talk about the whole country as if there weren't so many countries in it. It's the whole continent is Africa, and this is the Africans, not Nigerians, and so whatsoever. They talk about this all the time. So in my studies, I read some things about Africa, and Nigeria was there as well, because you have a history of colonialism, I read.
Yeah.
So that's I think a big part. You can talk about later something, or if you want to tell something about maybe the influence of this colonialism on footwear, maybe if there is any.
There is. There's quite a lot of history about colonialism and footwear. When you sent me that, the outline of some of the things you have wanted for us to discuss, and you mentioned about, this influence of colonialism on footwear, it just struck me. There is a part of Nigeria. First of all, Africa is not a country.
Yes, I know.
There's more than 50 countries in Africa, and size and population wise, it's a very diverse place to be in. Nigeria itself, Nigeria has over 250 languages and ethnic groups. So there's a variety of culture, a variety of opinions, a variety of different peoples. And for footwear specifically, colonialism plays a very huge role.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult for me to say what is a traditional footwear for any one tribe in Nigeria, except, of course, and guys, you guys who are in the audience, correct me if I'm wrong. If you have an idea of what is a typical traditional Nigerian footwear, even though there's nothing like a Nigerian footwear, right? There probably will be Hausa footwear, which is a tribe. Chris, Hausa is a tribe in Nigeria. There's the Igbo tribe, there's the Yoruba tribe, there's the Efik, the Bibio, several tribes, almost 250 of them. In fact, more than 250 of them, right? And each of these tribes and cultures many times have footwear. Now, what I can say for sure is how much colonialism has an influence on that footwear of those tribes. For the Igbos, certainly, I'm Igbo, I'm from the Igbo tribe of Nigeria. For the Igbos, certainly, there's a huge colonial influence on the footwear that we wear as at today. What used to be worn back in the day, I really can't speak to it, right? I don't know much about that, but there is a very unique tribe close to my own tribe, the Ibibio and the Efik tribe. Now, that's a very flamboyant tribe. These guys dress up. They like to dress up, right? And, you know, when you take on the stage, I'll, you know, locate a couple of the shoes that they wear, heavily influenced by the Portuguese. They are the coastal regions of Nigeria, and I guess they were some of the first people who interacted with the Europeans prior to colonialism, and much of their culture is influenced by that. So you see the dress they wear, the footwear they wear, even for their what they call their cultural traditional weddings, are heavily influenced by Portuguese culture. If you are an Ibibio person here and you think that I'm wrong, also let me know in the comments. But you know, that's my appreciation of what that is. Up north, which is a much more arid, much more like a desert region of Nigeria, the sandal culture in that area is, you know, very huge. So most of them wear sandals, thick leather
Big in
sandals.
Germany as well. We have Birkenstocks, but I will come to that later. But we have these really, some people say ugly shoes like Birkenstocks, like health shoes in Germany. So we know some things about sandals as well.
Right? Yes. Okay, talk to us about that Birkenstock. Birkenstock is actually very popular in Nigeria. If I ask that question, oh yes, it is. It is. Even though Nigerians have the thing with Nigeria is Nigerians are the kind of people who will take any culture, any language, and make it uniquely Nigerian. So Nigerians speak English in the Nigerian way. And so there is Nigerian Birkenstock. And maybe before we finish with this, I can show you a couple of pictures. And guys, if you have some pictures that you want to show and you want to join us on the stream, just let me know in the comments. I'll randomly pick and then we can let you into the stream. But talk to us about Birkenstock, if there are any kind of history to it.
Well, there's actually quite a long history. I have a presentation I can maybe show if it...
Yes, please. Go ahead.
If you tell me exactly again. Well, there it is. So this is a Birkenstock sandal. Many people have probably seen it. It's quite an interesting shoe. It looks like a shoe you wear inside, but in Germany, people wear them everywhere. Even in the colder temperature, people run around with these shoes. And they even wear socks in them. And I think that's like the German style. When people see like German tourists in some countries, they can identify them because Germans wear socks in their sandals. And well, personally, I find that very ugly, but you know, whatever floats their boat. And it has a really, really long history, because in the first time it was mentioned, like the name Birkenstock, it was in 1774 actually. There was this Johann Adam Birkenstock. He was just a shoemaker. And well, that's the first mention in the books. And then 1896, there was this company, Birkenstock. It was a shoemaker before, but now it's a company. And they start like selling flexible footbed insoles. So Birkenstock is all about health. So it should be anatomically formed, not like a flat bottom of a shoe, but it should contour to the bottom of the foot. So it's much more comfortable. And yes, so they heavily marketed that. They in 1925, for example, they produced this blue footbed, which I added an advertisement down there, and they claim it can do all kind of wonders, like cure all kinds of foot problems and whatever. I think we both know that it's a mass-produced.
I think that's a myth.
It's a mass-produced product, so it can't really conform to your foot. I think that's what makes Bespoke footwear so special, because it's made for your foot, or can be made for your foot, and be very, very comfortable and good for your feet. So the sandals, like we know them today, they were introduced in like 1963. I added again a picture of this time, an advertisement. And yeah, people even back then, they wore socks in them. Yeah, it's just the style.
Because of the cold, right? Probably because of the cold climate, is it?
Germany is not. No, Germany is not particularly cold anymore. So we talked about prejudices. Maybe you have to think Germany is quite the cold country, or compared to Nigeria, or
Germany would have to be a cold country compared to Nigeria. You don't want to think of how hot it gets in Nigeria.
Yeah, how hot is it right now?
Well, this is the wet season in Nigeria, right?
Oh yeah,
and which is like the rainy season. Is supposed to be the cooler season, right? And the average temperature in the day may be around, let's say, 38 degrees centigrade, not Fahrenheit.
38.
I'm telling you.
Oh, that's hot.
You don't. No. Nigeria is particularly hot, and you know Nigeria is in the equator. It's so we Nigeria, Ghana, the whole of West Africa really gets hot, and it even gets hotter as you move up north. The more you go towards the northern part of Nigeria, it gets hotter. I was in the UK last year, and I noticed that, you know, the southern part of the UK, I actually took a bus trip up north. So I think I visited Newcastle. I moved from London to Newcastle. The farther you go north in the UK, the colder it gets, right?
Yeah.
The difference is the reverse in Nigeria. The further you go north, the hotter it gets. So average temperatures in the north of Nigeria can actually get to like 45 degrees. And during the dry season, it can go up to like 48.
Wow.
In my car, I've experienced temperatures of about 40 inside my car. You know, your thermometer in the car will read the outside temperature, and I've read 40 degrees from my car at some point.
Do you have AC in your car?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
It's difficult to drive without air conditioning.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. But go ahead. Let's finish this part about Birkenstock.
Yeah. So, compared to Nigeria, it's quite cold in here. But even in summer, where it's like 30 degrees, I see people wearing socks in these. So maybe they would even wear them if they came to Nigeria. Maybe they even would wear them there. I don't know how crazy they are, but some some
No,
are.
no, we have our share of crazy people in Nigeria as well. There's a bunch of young people who actually wear socks on sandals. It's a
Oh,
fashion is a fashion
yeah,
statement for them. So that's let's not go into all of that though, but
yeah,
that's one
okay.
of the prejudices that I want to talk about. But let's finish off with the Birkenstock. Yeah.
Yeah, so now today they're a really big company and like a corporation, and even celebrities wear these Birkenstocks when they go to the red carpet. I've already even seen them wear these because they're a style, and they're quite expensive today. So a pair of Birkenstocks can run you 200 euros, which is like $220 US. I don't know. You have what's your currency? It's not US
It's
dollars. What's
naira, and it's
Naira?
naira.
Right, right.
Yes, it's about $1 is about a 1,600 naira at the moment.
All right.
So 200 euros is quite a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It even is here. Like they used to cost like maybe $50 to $100, but now they're like the fashion thing. They go really expensive. So yeah. Well, um, and oh yeah, the footbed. Here's it cut in half, so it is actually not that special. You could say it's like a cork footbed on an EVA sole, and this cork footbed has like the imprint of a foot, so it should be comfortable and like they claim good for your feet. Then there's like just a jute fiber, and it stabilizes the whole thing and could actually wick away some moisture. And then there's like a footbed liner from leather.
Yeah.
And the straps are just glued under, so there's no stitching or anything, just glued under. So it's quite the simple shoe, you could say, for the price, especially, I think. So it's a lot of marketing that goes into this footbed, and well, yeah, they're famous for it.
Even
I
in
think.
Nigeria,
Oh yeah.
even in Nigeria, the cost of Birkenstocks, as compared to other kinds of sandals, we have about 20 people on the live stream right now. Many of them, I suppose, are footwear makers. Many of them, I will guess, make sandals. Gentlemen, let me know if you were going to make a pair of Birkenstock versus a pair of any other kind of sandals, which will cost more. My guess, I don't make sandals. I'm really not a sandal maker. Not that there's anything wrong with making sandals, but many of the gentlemen here will attest to the fact that even in Nigeria, the market and all of that marketing you mentioned about Birkenstocks have rubbed off even in the Nigerian market. So it costs not as much as 200 euros though, but it goes quite above and beyond what you would find for regular sandals.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Any other thing you wanted to say about Birkenstock, or do we just move into how you got into shoemaking and all of that?
Well, I think that's all about Birkenstock. I will later maybe talk about another shoemaker when we talk about construction methods in Germany.
Excellent.
But
Excellent.
now we
Excellent.
can come back to the other thing. Yes.
Yes, please. So one thing you've mentioned about the things you hear about Nigeria. For me, the things we hear about Germany, very well made machinery and equipment. Very well. Okay, someone in the comment section says Birkenstocks cost 45,000 naira. See, as compared to other sandals, that's quite steep, right?
Yeah.
That's close to what you would charge for a good pair of well-made shoes.
Well, wow.
Well-made full leather shoes.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's quite, the marketing really does rub off. So the guys at the Birkenstock company, you're doing a good job for the Nigerian shoemakers. But the point I was making is, so what we know Germany for is well-made machinery, well-made equipment, to the extent that I've had many people. I live in Lagos. Lagos is a coastal town. The bulk of Nigeria's imports come in through Lagos, right? So it's usually easier to source equipment and machinery from Lagos. So people from other parts of Nigeria regularly contact me with, inquiry about which is the better kind of sewing machine to purchase. And I find a trend that people are usually more comfortable buying a 50-year-old Faf. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. A Faf
Yes.
sewing machine. Yes. As against maybe a Two Lion, which is a Chinese brand sewing machine. So that's one of the things that you'd find. I will always buy a, of course, if I can. The only downside is I find that, increasingly some of these, I think the industry in Germany is moving away from some of these mundane heavy equipment into much more specialized IT things. So it's sometimes difficult to find spare parts for those old equipment. So, but if you find one that you can cannibalize, it's always interesting to get those old ones. I saw the picture you sent to me about your old shoe patcher. Is it a Faf or a Singer?
It's actually it's a Adler. It's like
which is a German. Yes. Adler is German.
Yeah, but it's built exactly like a Singer. So these models are like you can interchange the parts even. So that's no problem.
Yes, I have the Singer version of the same machine. I think it's called a 21. I'm not sure.
I think 29K.
Yes. It's a 29K. Yes, I have it. I have a part in mind that's missing, and it's been difficult to. I've just packed it somewhere, right? So the point is, what we know Germany for is beer, a lot of beer. I saw you drinking. I saw you drinking from a green bottle, and I was about to ask you, is that beer or water? But I decided
it's water.
I'm almost certain that it is water. It's probably too late to be drinking. I'm not sure. A lot of people drink at night.
In Germany, a lot of people drink at night. As well, not under the week, like on weekends, like 10 p.m. It's like a normal time to drink a lot of beer. So go for it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I guess enough about all of this Nigeria Germany talk. Let's go into how you got involved into shoemaking. You mentioned that you studied, or you are studying culture science, right?
Yes. Right.
I studied law. I still practice law till today. But interesting to find that you're also taking the same path that I took several years ago, venturing into like you said, you started out with repairs. Now you're going into shoemaking. So let's talk about what's the motivation. How did it all start?
Well, it was quite simple. I bought like normal shoes, like you get in the store, and they cost like not so much, like 50 to 80 euros, which is not too much, but not really cheap. And I'm quite tall and heavy, and my boots always lasted 1 to 2 years. And then the sole broke, or the stitching somewhere broke, or like there was fabric, it all broke. And I hated it. I hated buying new shoes all the time. And I asked myself, well, aren't there better materials or you can make a shoe of? So I bought my first leather shoes, not sneakers, but leather shoes. The store-bought ones were better, but even there, the soles were often terrible, and oftentimes resoling was more expensive than buying just a new shoe. Because in Germany, there are not many shops left that do actually resole. It's a dying breed, the cobbler, you call it, right? Not many, and most people are quite old that do it. So we have in my town, we have one, and he's like 60 something, and he will stop in maybe 5 years. Then he's gone. There's nobody who will continue his work. So I have to go to the next bigger town to get a shoe repair, and it's like 30 to 50 euros to get a resole done. And that's just gluing.
Exactly the cost of the, yes.
Yeah, and it's not even like you get new stitching like in a Goodyear Weld shoe. It's just taking the old sole off and gluing a new one in, and that's that expensive. So then there's and these shoes, oftentimes they're not that easy to repair. Like when there's a cup sole or something, these are special soles made by the manufacturer. You can't really buy them off the shelf. And so I thought to myself, maybe let's get to footwear that has soles that can be easily switched. So like Vibram, maybe it's like a big company for soles here, like they make hard rubber soles for like hiking boots and stuff, but you can put them on normal shoes as well. So I bought shoes with that, and then a sole of that started to delaminate, like we will talk later about. And I thought, how can I fix that? I bought my first glue, like the contact cement, put it back together. Well, that was my first success in repairing a shoe. So I felt quite accomplished, even it was such a simple task. But I thought to myself, I didn't throw it away. I saved some money, and now I have a shoe that I can wear again. And then it just escalated, like maybe I can get another good shoe. And I started to switch from the old sneakers I had, and I bought better shoes. And then someday I found these shoes. They were like 50 years old, and I was fascinated because they still held up. The leather was a bit dry, but some leather oil on it, and they were good to go. And I found that very, very fascinating. But they were made so good, so with all leather construction, and really quite heavy, but they held up. And I thought myself, yeah, that's not the shoe I want. And well, I bought it, and now I own it, and I put a rubber sole. They had like leather soles, and I just put a rubber bottom on it, and it's totally wearable again. And well, yeah, that was how I got into it. Then I had other sport shoes that were like broken. It was all the time. It was like a cost thing. I don't have that much money, so I wanted a shoe that can last and I can repair myself. I don't have to spend that much money. I read somewhere that in Germany people buy like shoes every year, a new pair, or even more. So that will accumulate this cost. And I thought to myself, if I can repair my shoe, it will last like many years. This will be just cheaper. That's how I got into it. And then I got an interest in heritage style shoes, like these really old patterns, like really old shoes from like the 1940s and stuff. People do not want them here. They sell them for really cheap because they want these sneakers, these lightweight modern shoes, but they don't want these old shoes. They just say, yeah, here it's like 20 euros, you can have them. I don't need them anymore. So it was always a cost question for me. So I bought these, put rubber bottoms on, or fixed some threads, stitched some things again, and they were good to go.
Excellent.
And well, then
in a nutshell, right? Yeah. That's kind of like how I got started myself. I've told the story on this channel some time ago. For me, it was a costing as well, around about the time when I really didn't have much money. I was about to get married, and I needed a pair of wedding shoes. For the quality of wedding shoes that I wanted, it was going to really bite into my budget. So I bought the next best thing, which was a pair of Chinese shoes, which didn't last 2 months after the wedding.
Yeah.
So I asked myself, no. You can do better than this. So I asked, what can be done so that the same amount of money. But my whole thing about making shoes, there are quite a number of people on this live stream who probably don't know. But when I make shoes, no matter how good they are, no matter how premium the quality of the materials that I use in making them, I typically don't want to sell them for too expensive costs. I really don't like to price my shoes that high, and that's because of how I got started in the craft in the first place, right? So the philosophy behind my shoemaking was make something premium for the same cost that it would have cost you to buy that China. Well, I don't want to be derogatory of China, but the kind of shoes that we are talking about, those shoes that really don't stand up to time. And I found out, yeah, you can really do that. The same amount, like the 50 euros you were talking about, you could actually invest 50 euros and buy premium materials. Just spend some time, have fun while you're doing it, film yourself while you're doing it, and yeah, which is why I devolved into having the YouTube channel thereafter. So that's my whole thing. You make premium shoes that will stand up to at least reasonable standards, and then will not have to cost a kidney to acquire. So so that really was my own involvement. And while I started, you go on YouTube and you see a whole lot of material. And I guess that's a good point to ask you about the construction methods. The reason I wanted to have you on the live stream is you are in shoe repairs, you deal with gums and glues, contact cement. And there was something you were saying in the comment section about how to work with hardeners. Of course, you've mentioned to me, you've given me the disclaimer that you're by no means an expert on the subject, but then you probably have some experience and that you may want to share. Could you just talk our audience through that?
Yeah. So we use contact cement to attach the soles, of course. First of all, there's different kinds of contact cement. So there's polyurethane-based contact cement. I don't know, what do you use? Polyurethane-based contact cement, or what is the base?
In Nigeria, most people call it chemical gum.
Oh, right.
Yes, that's what it's called. Yes, the PU. Yes.
Okay. So and then there's Oh, right. I forgot the English name. Sorry, but there's another kind. I will look it up
one that
later.
Is usually yellowish or dark red,
yes,
right?
Yes, right.
Yes.
So when you want to glue on a rubber sole, I think the most important thing is always the surface preparation, of course, always with gluing. So you sand the leather and you sand the rubber sole. And then I will use acetone to strip maybe residues like fat or anything that got on there, to strip that off.
For the rubber, or for both the rubber and the leather?
Just the rubber.
Okay,
just the rubber.
Excellent.
And sometimes soles come like pre-roughened from the factory. There you should always use acetone as well, because there's sometimes a protective film from the factory still on there. And you need to get rid of that so it will adhere better. Right. So, so most of the time I use just that, no hardener, but you can of course use hardener. And it's specific, it's different from like product to product, but we have a hardener where you put like 5 to 8% volume to the glue. You mix it up, then you have like 5 hours time to use it. No longer than that, or it will be bad. So then you just mix it up really thoroughly and use it like a normal contact cement, and it will be much harder to get off. It will be resistant to temperature. It will be resistant to, especially if you have a work boot and you come in contact with oils and fat and whatever. Then you really want to have a sole that's put on with a hardener because it attacks the glue. And with a hardener, it's much more resistant to that.
Oh, yeah.
But obviously, it makes resoling much harder because you nearly can't get these soles off again. So what you can do?
Let me pause there, right? Let me pause you there, right? The gentleman in Nigeria will be very glad that it cannot be. that it will be difficult to
Yeah.
resole, right?
Okay.
It makes a lot of sense for us. So, gentlemen, just to reiterate some of the things he said, um, I guess the point to be made on a general level will be to say, read the instructions on the packaging. That's one thing I didn't do for the video. Now, so this is me being full and frank. I just got into the market. The gentleman handed me the hardener and said, add a few drops of it. What I will do is to go back and read the instructions on the packaging. So, and I think I have a suspicion that you're right about 5 to 8% by volume. My problem with volumetric measurements is it's difficult to be precise. I'm a coffee drinker, right? So you in coffee we like precision. If you are asking me to brew 12 grams or 18 grams of coffee, 18
Right.
grams is 18 grams, no matter the issue. So, but that's the problem with volumetric measurements. But at least some indication is given. I'm going to go back and get the packaging for that particular brand of hardener and maybe do another video and try it out with the manufacturer's recommendation on what should be used. And the point you made about temperature is also very important. We are in a hot country. When people start out in life, they walk long distances, maybe from the bus stop to where they ultimately walk or when they are going home. The weather is already very hot. The roads are hot. So there's a lot of temperature, which is why I really don't do cemented construction and leave it at cemented construction, because I don't trust that any brand of contact cement can sustain that amount of strain, particularly from temperature. But I'll of course try it out with the hardener and let you know. But go ahead and finish off your presentation on preparations.
Well,
Yes.
So what you can do as well is, like, most of the time soles start to separate at the front, in my experience. So what I did was, if I wanted to be able to resole them at some time, I just put this glue with hardener at the front, where I thought it would delaminate, and at the heel, because that should be really stable and secure as well. So then the other part of the sole was just normal contact cement, and you could get that off a bit easier. But like you said, when you walk on a hot surface, more of the shoe bottom is in contact with the hot ground. So I think there it's advisable to do it like maybe the whole sole, even to use hardener. I mean, it is possible to get it off. It might destroy some of the midsole. If you have a midsole, or it is advisable to have a midsole in this case, because it might get some damage if you tear that sole off.
Yes.
I don't do very much like fine shoes. I have, of course, saw many of your videos, and your shoes are like dressier than what I usually deal with. So in my shoes, sometimes I just put some screws in the front. If there's a thick leather midsole, you can just put some screws in the front, and so even if the glue delaminates, the screws will hold it on until you have the chance to get it resoled. So when you're maybe walking somewhere and the sole falls off, you're not standing there, oh, what do I do now? So that's a safety measure you can do. Like and in heels, you probably do it in heels. You nail heels, right? Sometimes.
Yes, I do.
So,
yes, of course. Yes.
Right. No, so there you have the security as well. So this one's mostly sell off. But in the front, if you have like not so dressy boots, like chunkier, heavier boots, some short, don't too long screws, or otherwise you might feel them. That's not too advisable. But some short screws will help a lot, really, like to get it secure.
Excellent. For me, I think for any sole, if you're working with any sole that is 5 mm and above,
Mhm.
you should probably add something beyond just the glue. Unless, of course, your time and your production time will not permit you. For me, and this is something I have repeated over and over for the guys who watch my videos. If you are working on any sole that's above 5 mm, put a Blake stitching on it. You mentioned that you put some screws around the front. That can also work. You could even do a Blake stitching just around that front area so that it
Yeah.
doesn't delaminate from the front. The people who I really have some concerns about are people who really don't have that option. You know, people who make high heel shoes, for instance.
Well, yeah. Yeah,
So if you're going to make high heel shoes, you can stitch it. You so you're going to have to really be on point with your
right.
with your gluing. So and I'm guessing that's really my concern about having to get this issue about glues and adhesives sorted out. So like you mentioned, I'm going to go back get the manufacturer's recommendation for that particular hardener, try it out, maybe do some kind of experiment. I don't know what kind of experiment would be helpful. Maybe do a strength test. If I was an engineer, it would come readily to me. If any of you guys are out there and you're an engineer and you have some kind of ideas on how to do a strength test, just let me know in the comments. But any other thing you wanted to share along those lines, Chris?
Well, like to adhesive, there's, like I said, if you have EVA, like an EVA dampening sole or something in between your outsole and your shoe, you might sometimes, I read it, I did not really try it. I have this PDF where the producer of the glue says what kind of his products you should use for different materials. So if you have EVA, they do not recommend the polyurethane, actually. You might, if you use polyurethane, you might want to read into it. I'm not really sure if it's, because I don't really use EVA that much. I did not try it, but they say this polyurethane glue might not adhere to the EVA too good, so good, or it might the thinner in it, like the stuff, it might attack even the EVA. But if you have other experience, if you can just try it out on a piece of EVA and glue that on with your glue, and you will see if it works or not. So just a general recommendation to make test, to just test out if your glue will hold the material combination you're trying to glue. So I think that that will save a lot of headache later on.
I agree. My experience is that EVA will not work with PU very well.
Right.
But with the regular yellow dark red contact cement, it does an excellent job. So sometimes what I do is I find the thinnest kind of EVA, use that like a midsole. So it's the bridge between the leather uppers, the insole, and the outsole itself. Then of course, if your whole outsole is EVA, then you're good to go. Which is of course why I like to use EVA to cover that void, so it has more surface area to adhere to the outsole. I guess that's a lot of discussion on glues and adhesives. You wanted to make some presentation on other kind of bottoming construction methods, right?
Yes, it's about bottom technique, or in general construction, which is used in Germany, and also a special kind of shoe. We talked about traditional footwear in Nigeria.
Yeah,
that there's maybe not just one, or it's hard to say, but in Germany we have like the one traditional footwear, and it's called the Halbschuh. And it's you see, it's a half shoe, and it looks quite special. So on the left we have an older pair, which was made like, I guess it was like 100 years ago maybe, and the right we have a new pair. So back in the day, they didn't have rubber soles, so they put leather sole on there and metal studs. These shoes were made by, were used by working people, by farmers. I have a picture here in this region. It's quite beautiful actually, but it's very many mountains and steep hills. So the farmers there, they used this kind of shoe. It was produced or invented there. So it was invented actually in 1803 by someone called Franz Schratt. And well, till then people used like wooden soles actually, because wood was very stable. It was not so expensive. But of course, when you imagine walking in a wooden sole on wet grass or something, it might get very slippery very fast. So he wanted to solve that. Or if you stand in a hill all the time wearing a boot that goes above your ankle, might get uncomfortable over time. So he invented this kind of shoe. Here's another old picture. And what's make it special, it's in the time, like I said, people mostly wore boots. And this was quite the new invention back then. So some English people, oh, right, okay, let me get in. Maybe that's more important. How it's constructed. So, because it's a thing, I think you might know it under the name Norwegian welt. In Germany, we call it Zwiegenäht. And well, these Halbschuh were made with this kind of construction where the upper is like flanged out, like a stitch down. But then, similar to a Goodyear welt, there's a stitch that connects the insole to the upper. And one good thing about this method of construction is it's very durable and it's water resistant. Because the upper is flanged out, there's not so many ways for water to get in, and furthermore, they use a thread to stitch that it's pitched. So they use or tar on there. So when you pull the stitches, you actually create heat, and this thread will lock itself in there. It will melt a bit, and it will be a really, really watertight connection. And yeah, that's the construction of the Halbschuh. You can then obviously the outsole is again, or you can stitch the outsole on, like in any other with a rapid stitch, like in any other shoe. And yeah, on the right there's a picture of the modern shoe, because there's another thing about these Halbschuhs. Well, let me get just back. Because the front of the shoe looks very strange, very, very boxy, you could say. And that was made because when you go downhill or something, your toes might get squished some. And with this kind of pointy front of the shoe, I mean, you don't get that. And there's place for the ankle as well. So you can get stay flexible. I mean, today that's nothing new, but back then that was quite the invention, I guess. And the back of the shoe goes up quite high, so you have even though it's not a boot, you have a lot of security when walking up or downhill. So yeah, and maybe not to the name. It's Halbschuh was just because English people visited Bavaria, where it was invented, and they saw this shoe and they said, yeah, well, that's not quite a shoe, that's half a shoe, because it's not a boot. And, that's one kind of explanation for it. And then in their dialect, in the Bavarian dialect, they said Halbschuh. That's basically how it got its name. And today, nobody actually wears these shoes anymore, I guess, except for Oktoberfest. You know Oktoberfest?
Yes, the beer fest.
Yes. There, it's all the men should actually wear it as part of the I guess it's kind of
This
uniform. You have
festivity.
to, yes, right.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so that is that to the Halbschuh.
Okay. While you were speaking, I tried to do some quick download of some of the Nigerian shoes that I was talking
Mhm.
about. While I try to locate them in my download section, gentlemen in the comment section, we've actually been here for 50 minutes. If you have any questions, any things that you may want addressed, particularly as they relate to gums and glues. We've talked about PUs, we've talked about hardeners, we've talked about, a procedure where you can use EVA as a bridge between your outsole itself and the midsole or your insole. Any questions related to those, just shoot in the comments and we will just highlight them and deal with them while we begin to, plan to call the night quits. But I'm trying to locate those shoes, some beautiful shoes that I saw while you were speaking.
Mhm.
You know. But let me ask you, at the beginning, right about the time we were starting, you mentioned that the only cobbler in your just close to where you live is about 60 and he's about to retire.
Yes.
So you must be planning to replace him, are you not?
Uh, I'm not so sure because in Germany, basically, as a cobbler, it's hard to make a living,
Mm,
right? So
mm,
as a
mm, mm,
shoemaker, you can, but you have to go
mm,
into
mm,
these really, really expensive bespoke shoes. So like
mm, mm,
these
mm, mm,
here, bespoke shoes are like if you want to have a last, a custom last as well, you pay
mm.
like 2,000 euros or more. Um,
Yes.
that so it's very expensive. These people they can live from the money they make, but these
Mm, mm,
cobblers,
mm.
especially because, like I said, modern shoes are not so easy to repair, or it's just not economically feasible.
Viable. Yes, yes,
Viable,
yes.
yes. So not many people go to them anymore. So it's not just their age; it's just they don't have that many things to do anymore. Not that many opportunities to earn money. So it's
Mm,
sadly
mm,
a dying breed. So I think I will stay hobby and I repair shoes for family and friends. So
mm,
as at
mm, mm,
least their shoes can get a repair. I can repair in my free time
mm, mm,
and
mm.
going like becoming like this bespoke shoemaker. Not
Do you have
not for
any thoughts? Do you have any plans of maybe furthering and getting some specialized training for bespoke shoemaking?
well. I just like I said, I just started making shoes, so I will of course need a lot more experience and to get a someone that tells like how you call it. Oh, sorry, my English. Like
No.
education for a shoemaking.
Mm, mm,
Like
mm,
studying this. Like yeah, it's in Germany. You study like for 3 years for if you want to get
mm,
to make something like this, and then you're good to go and you can open your own shop, etc. But learning has is usually 2 to 3 years, and
oh yeah.
finding someone that actually will take you on and show you everything, it's getting harder, of course, because yeah, it's not
There
so
are
many
just few
people left.
people.
Right.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, 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 yes. Okay, so let me show. I've seen some questions that have come on here. But before we take those questions, let me just bring on the screen some of the traditional Nigerian footwear. Gentlemen, you would permit me, I'm going to be biased. Is it visible? I can't see the screen while I'm presenting. Chris, let me know. Are you seeing a screen that I'm sharing of a very
Uh,
well dressed? Oh yeah, it's not showing.
no, I think not. Sadly.
Oh, oh,
Maybe you want to send me the picture. Maybe I can share it.
okay, I'll send you
Yeah.
the picture
Yeah.
on WhatsApp, and
Yes.
yes, you probably would share it. Okay, so but while I try to do that, let me just highlight some of the questions that have come on here. Um, okay, this person Henry Onya said we will like to the hardener. Okay, so Henry, once I go, I think I got the name of the hardener. The funny thing is it's made in Nigeria as well. It's a Nigerian company. It's made in Nigeria. If I get them to sponsor the video where I explain how it is used, that will be an added bonus. But I will certainly go and get that hardener, get the manufacturer's instructions. You know what typically happens is that not many people buy the hardener in bulk. So in Nigeria, Chris, and I'm saying this for your own benefit. In Nigeria, we have this culture where you can actually buy shoemaking and leather craft materials in bits and pieces. So you could go to a leather market and they will sell you as small as a spoonful if that's what you want.
All right. Okay.
Oh yeah, just for a few dollars. They can sell you as small as a spoonful, as small as a cupful, and all of that. So but that's advantageous in the sense that you are able to buy what you can afford and your risk exposure is not that much. The downside of it is that there's a whole lot of information on how to use the material that's usually contained in the manufacturer's packaging, and if you don't have a knowledgeable vendor, some of that knowledge gets lost, which was my own predicament when I went. Yeah. This one is from Okanlo Mokbayemi. He says, what's the best PU gum? Another name for acetone, and where to get them? EVA is also called. Okay, so please, the right proportion for hardener. So let me start from Chris. You want to take the last of the questions? He said, what the right proportion for hardener is?
Yeah, usually it's 5 to 8% volume, but again, like Victor said, please, if you can, if it's available, read the instructions, but usually 5 to 8% volume.
So 5 to 8% volume is the general recommendation, but you are very well advised to read what the manufacturer of the particular brand you're using says, and that will just probably give you the best results. Let me take the other questions. EVA. EVA is the foam. It's a foam kind of like plastic, what you call mako. I think the colloquial name for it in Nigeria is mako. So you know that it comes in different sizes and different thicknesses. So that's what we mean by EVA. Is a kind of plastic, and I think the generic name for it in the plastics industry is EVA. I think it's I don't exactly know what it stands for, but I think it stands
I can tell.
for. Okay, please.
It's ethylene, ethylene vinyl acetate. I can write it maybe into the chat.
Oh yeah, please. So my thinking, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a plastics engineer, but my thinking is the same way you lather soap, right? So they take plastics, they lather it up and expand it. It becomes like a foam, and they cut it into sheets of different thicknesses. All of those air pockets that you have in that foam are probably what helps it have some grip. And typically, if you use it with contact cement, and when we say contact cement, we mean your yellow or dark red glue. So that's for EVA. Another name for acetone. Um, do you know a generic name for acetone, Chris? You brought up the point about acetone.
Yes. I don't know. I think, let me just look it up. It's the name of the compound, but I think it's
It's a
just called.
solvent. Yeah, yeah. It's a cleaning solvent. I
Yes,
think
yes,
the
yes.
closer. Okay, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, it's a kind of cleaning solvent, and you can, of course, use other things as well. So, like stuff to clean your brushes when you're painting. I think that can work as well if you have access to that. Or like pure alcohol, like isopropanol alcohol, that can work as well. It's not as aggressive, so it might not take everything off in every case, but it takes off every kind of grease and dirt you got on there at least. So that's an option as well, I think.
The closest thing I think to general knowledge about acetone is nail polish remover.
Yes, true.
Nail polish remover. The ladies here know exactly what we're talking about. The stuff that ladies use in removing nail polish from their nails.
Yes.
Some guys also use them. So, but that's the closest I can say about acetone. I would have said thinner, which is what the people who mix paints. But my experience with thinner is that these days, particularly the ones that I find within my locality, come with some kind of grease in them. So you rub off and you notice that it leaves a grease residue. So I can't vouch for the purity of the thinner. So I may not recommend it. Or if not for that, I would have recommended it, but I probably won't in this circumstance. I use thinners when I'm mixing my dyes for painting and dye work, but not for cleaning my soles any longer. I know that in some videos I had recommended using thinner. Please, guys, I'm revising all of that now, because for the kind that we find in Nigeria, I've noticed that there's some kind of grease. It's like petrol. There's some kind of oil in it that probably won't help your glue work that much. Then PU, I think we've mentioned about PU is polyurethane. I'm not exactly sure how that pronunciation goes, but it is usually clear like water, at least the ones that we find in Nigeria, and it's what is colloquially called chemical gum. I guess that does it for this question. Okay, someone here, Shalom Peter Gebe, he said acetone is actually an alcohol as well, like ethanol. So it's in the family of all of those, and it works like thinner. Thank you very much, Shalom. But I've also expressed my reservations about thinner. Not to say that thinner ordinarily shouldn't work. If you can find a pure one that doesn't have all of those grease residue, you probably should be good to go. Sewedo Pius asked the same question about EVA that someone asked, and I think we've dealt with that. Emmanuel Peters. Emmanuel, how are you? Emmanuel was on Facebook earlier on with me today. Emmanuel, I greet you. He said, apart from covering the insole of Birkenstock with synthetic leather to avoid dirt, how else can the insole be kept clean without peeling off? Chris, I'm not a sandal man. You want to intervene here?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about this question, to be quite honest. I mean, so the insole of Birkenstock is actually real leather most of the time, as far as I know. I mean, at least in the real Birkenstock, it's real leather.
Yes. And my suspicion is that he's talking about the Nigerian interpretation of Birkenstock. So that's my suspicion. It would have been nice to get those pictures. If I knew that all of these would come up, I probably would have pulled them up. Some of you guys have my WhatsApp. If you can WhatsApp me quickly some of the pictures of the things that you work on as Birkenstock, it would be very, very nice. But I only have about 2 or 3 minutes for that to come in. So if you can bring it in, that would be excellent. Otherwise, we'll probably reschedule for another live, or maybe put it in one of the videos. Aaron Yanaona says, sorry if I mispronounced your name. I'm sorry about that. Good evening, Chris. What adhesive will you recommend for rubber-based soles and leather soles? And is it advisable you use neoprene adhesives on polyurethane soles? Okay, so I think neoprene is the contact cement, is it? Chris?
Yes, yeah, I think so. What's sold as neoprene glue is most of the time actually this polyurethane glue, because polyurethane is used to glue neoprene, like in these swimming suits, these diving suits. I mean, yeah, and so most of the time I would just for polyurethane soles use a polyurethane adhesive. But let me just, I have this sheet of PDF where the producer recommendations for different sole materials. I just need to search it. Maybe yes, just go on.
If you can find it,
yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, if you find it, we'll project it, and then you can also send it to me by email, and I can send to the guys. I can post it on the description of the video, and people can basically have it. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Let me run through. I see that Comrade, the Kaylan president is here. He's saying he's joining from Abuja. Good evening, sir. Nice to have you here. Much respect to you. Let me see if I can find any other questions. I think we're done. Gentlemen, if you have any questions, please do shoot them. Otherwise, we'll begin to round up. Of course, let me give Chris some time to locate the PDF that he spoke about. So, Chris, so you're continuing in your hobby as a hobbyist, right? Oh yeah. And you know, for a while I've actually been trying to target people who do leather as a hobby. And the reason is that's how I started, and I think it's doing stuff as a hobby gives you the latitude to make mistakes, and I think you only learn when you're willing to make mistakes. So gentlemen, if you're out there and you're really not looking to making shoes for sale, there's something I want to start doing on a quarterly basis. We contribute some money, we find a good location, we get ourselves some snacks, some coffee, meet together once in a month, and just talk about shoes, just like we're having this live. We can even set up cameras and record them and post videos about them, talk about shoemaking, make some shoes, discuss and learn how to make shoes. I think it will be very worth the while for people who are looking to do shoemaking as a hobby. Not so much for people who are already businessmen, shoe entrepreneurs. Maybe not so much for you, but if you are looking to do it as a hobby, just stay tuned on the channel and I'll let you guys know how all of that will go. Chris, were you able to find it?
Yes, actually. So okay. I can, if you, the PDF is sadly it's in German. So yeah, but I can
But you can project it and speak to it. Yes, please.
Yes, yes. Let me just present that. There. So can you see it now? Something I project.
No, not this one. Okay, that one. Okay, good. Yes.
So here it's talking about gluing rubber to polyurethane. And it says that you should probably use a primer on the rubber if you want to glue it to polyurethane. That's not very helpful, I think. I don't know what kind of rubber primers are available in Nigeria. So it's quite the hard combination of materials to glue. But if you want to glue, I think, polyurethane to TPU or PU soles to leather, that's much more simple, because you could just use, let me just scroll down here, rubber. Yes, so you could just use the normal polyurethane glue if you glue polyurethane to leather. But if you want to glue polyurethane to rubber, you probably will need a primer for the rubber. And they advise that even for the polyurethane, there is a kind of primer. Again, I don't know what's available to you, but
okay, but can you say which they recommend so we can, research to see if we have it? Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
It's let me just write it in the chat. The names. Okay. It's Kömmerling KO Pure for the polyurethane, and S for the rubber. So I just wrote it in the chat. It's German brands, both of them. So maybe you can research those and find something that is suitable, or like something that's available to you.
So this Halbschuh S for rubber is for gluing what to what now?
It is mostly for gluing rubber to anything. Basically, it makes the bond stronger, but in this case, it's especially important if you want to glue it to polyurethane. So rubber to polyurethane, you're advised to use both primers for both materials, because they're really hard to bond together, as I see it.
Okay. Yes. In fact, I think I saw another gentleman on YouTube talk about the same thing, about primers, and I think his whole angle was, I think he was attacking the myth that Goodyear welted shoes are much better than cemented shoes. So he was, even though I feel that Goodyear welted shoes on a pound for pound, dealing with durability, beat cemented construction shoes. Of course, if you go at them with Blake stitching, then you cover up all of those ground. But his thing was that factoring in their costs, that it's all marketing. And he was talking about these primers. So the good thing is that his own content was in English. So I probably will locate that content and see if I can maybe make a remix of it, and maybe that would be helpful. But I certainly think some of these brand names that you're posting here. So I also note, sorry, this wasn't what I was gone in for. So yes, this is for PU, right, Chris?
Yes, that's the thing you should put on the polyurethane, at least according to the PDF. Yeah, and of course you should still roughen it up, I guess.
Okay, okay, excellent. So, just a few, I think, two last questions, and then I think we've had people here. Up till now, we are 20 people on the live stream, which is very, very good, considering the short notice. So we'll take one or two last questions and, start going at the moment. So, Beloved Bespoke says, what is the importance of heating the sole with fire before coupling? That's the manufacturer's recommendation for PU adhesives. And they really don't say fire, and that's something I think we need to research. I've never seen where the recommendation is to put it over a fire. I know that what is in common practice is for people to, pass it over an open flame. I'm suspicious. I have a suspicion that that may be part of what degrades the glue. They say heat it, right? So maybe try and do it. Maybe put something over that flame. Maybe find some metal sheet, put it over the flame, and then hold the shoe above so that you just have heat radiation and not the open flame itself. And I think you would have better results if you do that. And if you check in the factories, in the big factories, they don't run it over an open flame. So they have like a chain, like a production, what's it called again? It's, they put it in there, there is the heat underneath, and it's not an open flame. And many times they get better bonding than some of us who are who have less structured establishments. So my recommendation would be heat it. If you have a hot air gun, try that. You can use a hair dryer, a good hair dryer, and use that to give it some of the heat. But I really will not recommend an open flame. The Kalan president said, yeah, okay, you wanted to interject there. Go ahead, Chris, please.
Just saying, I think the data sheets of the glue manufacturers say you need to heat it to, I think it's 65 degrees Celsius or centigrade.
Oh, yeah.
So that's not really, really hot. That's just like, I think a hair dryer on high. If you hold it on there like 2 seconds on every surface, I think that will be quite enough. It's because the heating part is just so to reactivate the glue.
Activate the glue, yes.
Yeah, because when you put it on, there's the lot of thinner, in it, and this evaporates. Like when this is gone, there's the best bond. So it's just for reactivating, and there's really no need for such high temperatures, I think. So yeah.
Excellent. Then I think this will be the last question here. It says, what makes chemical gums losing their strength, and how can we avoid it? So there's a lot of things that probably will be in play. And I hope to sound very cliche-ish when I say it could be from your sole preparation, but I know you, sir. You are probably a very, very experienced shoemaker, so it probably will not be the preparation itself. It could be adulteration of the glue that you're using in the first place. So you probably have to see that the glue and your suppliers just maintain some kind of supply chain integrity and ensure that your glues are not being adulterated. Other than that, then it probably will be these same primers that Chris has so eloquently spoken about. Chris, if you send me that PDF, I'll try to see if I can use Google Translate to translate it to English, and then have it available to some of our people. I'll put it in the description so that everyone can get it.
Yeah,
all right.
Just send it.
I don't think. Yes, thank you very much, Chris. Thank you. I don't think there are any more questions. So, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have been awesome. Chris, thank you very much for coming on short notice. I'll call
Thanks
you
for
again,
having me.
right? I'll call you again if you would have us. And but thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you. Thank you for being here. Good night.
Yeah, good night.